The cathedral doors burst open. The sound is violent. Too loud for silk. Too loud for vows. Every head turns at once. Alexander Vale freezes at the altar, the ring halfway between his fingers and the bride's trembling hand. The orchestra falters. A violin screeches off-key before falling silent. The bride is Catherine Ross, daughter of old money, founder of 3 hospitals, a woman who built her reputation on precision, exhales sharply. What is going on? No one answers her. A woman stands in the doorway. She doesn't rush. She doesn't apologize. She doesn't look lost. She looks deliberate. Security shifts instinctively, hands moving toward their earpieces. Guests crane their necks. Phones rise, then hesitate. Alexander's face drains of color. The ring slips from his fingers. It hits the marble floor and skids, spinning once before stopping at the woman's feet. She looks down at it. Then she looks up at him. Recognition detonates across his face. Not confusion. Not curiosity. Fear. Catherine turns to him sharply. Alexander? He doesn't hear her. The woman steps forward. One step. The echo rolls through the cathedral. Whispers bloom instantly. Who is she? Is this a joke? Is this planned? The woman keeps walking. She stops halfway down the aisle. Close enough to be seen clearly. Far enough to control the room. I need 5 minutes, she says. Her voice is calm. That makes it worse. The priest, Father Dominic, who's known Alexander since boarding school, clears his throat. Ma'am, this is... Alexander raises his hand. The priest stops, confused. Catherine's eyes widen. You're letting this happen? Alexander doesn't look at her. He stares at the woman. Mara, he says, barely audible. The name travels anyway. Catherine laughs once, brittle. Her hands shake but her voice stays controlled. You know her. Alexander swallows. Mara nods. I know him too. Catherine steps forward, bouquet clenched tight. Years of donor galas and board meetings have taught her composure, but her voice cracks at the edges. This is inappropriate. Mara meets her gaze. I agree, she says. That's why I won't stay long. She reaches into her coat. Security stiffens. She pulls out a thin envelope. No weapons. No theatrics. Just paper. She walks the rest of the aisle slowly. Every step lands like a sentence being read aloud. She places the envelope on the altar. Right between the bride and groom. Alexander's hands tremble. Don't, he whispers. Mara doesn't look at him. You promised me once, she says, that if I ever came to you again, you'd listen. Catherine snaps, voice rising despite herself. Alexander, explain. Now. He doesn't. Mara turns to Catherine fully. Her voice stays steady. I'm not here to steal anything. Catherine scoffs. You walked into my wedding. Yes, Mara says. Because he walked out of my life. The words slice cleanly. Alexander flinches. Catherine stares at him. Calculates. Her mind, sharp from years of contract negotiations, races through possibilities. Is that true? Silence answers. Mara opens the envelope. She pulls out a folded document. Then another. She places them down, one at a time. Deliberate. Measured. Alexander recognizes the first page instantly. A hospital record. His name printed clearly. Catherine leans forward despite herself, her medical background making her read faster than she wants to. What is this? She asks, though part of her already knows. Mara doesn't raise her voice. It's proof that this wedding exists because of a lie. Alexander exhales shakily. Mara, please. Catherine's head snaps toward him. What lie? Mara looks at him. Gives him one chance. Tell her, she says. He doesn't. So she does. We were together 7 years ago, Mara says. Before the tech acquisitions. Before the press releases. Before the man standing here learned how to disappear people from his life. Gasps Ripple. Catherine shakes her head. No. This is, she stops. Recalibrates. How long? 2 years, Mara says. Catherine's breath catches. 2 years. He left without a goodbye, Mara continues. Alexander whispers, I didn't know. You didn't want to, Mara cuts in. Catherine steps back as if struck. Her voice drops. Left you, how? Mara's jaw tightens. Permanently. She unfolds the last paper. Holds it up. Catherine reads it. Her fingers go slack. The bouquet falls. The sound is soft. Devastating. A child? Catherine whispers. Alexander closes his eyes. Mara lowers the paper. I didn't come for money. Catherine's voice cracks. Decades of control, of building hospitals, of managing crises, none of it prepared her for this. You had his child? Yes. The word lands. The cathedral feels suddenly too small. Too public. Too honest. I raised the child alone, Mara says. Her voice wavers for the first time. I worked double shifts at the hospital. I missed my own mother's funeral because I couldn't afford childcare and the flight. I didn't chase him. I didn't threaten him. I didn't destroy his empire. Catherine's professional mask cracks. Then why now? Mara's eyes darken. Because today, she says, he was about to promise honesty. Alexander opens his eyes. The accusation hits deeper than rage. Mara steps to the side. The movement reveals someone standing behind her. Small. Still. A child. They clutch the edge of Mara's coat, eyes wide, taking in the vaulted ceilings, the stained glass, the sea of staring faces. Then they look at Alexander. The resemblance is undeniable. Same eyes. Same expression when uncertain. A murmur surges, then collapses into stunned silence. Alexander takes an involuntary step forward. Catherine sinks into a chair, her carefully planned future collapsing in real time. Mara places a hand on the child's shoulder. You don't have to say anything, she murmurs. The child doesn't speak. They just stare at Alexander. Waiting. Alexander's voice breaks. How old? 6, Mara says. Old enough to ask why other kids have fathers. Old enough to stop asking when I couldn't answer. Catherine presses a hand to her mouth. This can't be real, she whispers. Mara looks at her gently. I wish it weren't. Alexander drops to his knees without realizing it. The marble is cold. He doesn't care. I didn't know, he says again, desperate now. Mara's expression hardens. You changed your number. You moved without forwarding addresses. You didn't ask because you didn't want the answer. The child tilts their head. Are you the man from the pictures? Alexander nods, throat tight. The child frowns. You look different. Older. The honesty guts him. Catherine stands abruptly. Enough. Everyone turns. She walks to the altar. Stands between them. Between past and future. Her voice is steady now. The surgeon in her taking over. Clinical. Precise. You stood here, she says to Alexander, and promised me a life built on truth. I canceled a hospital opening for this. I told my board I'd found a partner who valued integrity. He can't meet her eyes. She looks at Mara. You could have sent a letter. Called. Ruined him privately. Mara answers simply. I tried letters. I tried calls. For 2 years. He made himself unreachable. Catherine's laugh is hollow. Then what did you come for today? Mara looks at Alexander. Then at the child. Accountability. The word echoes. Alexander feels the weight of it settle on his chest. Father Dominic whispers urgently, we should move this to. No, Catherine says. If this is happening, it happens here. Where lies die in public. Cameras flash. The world begins to close in. Alexander looks at Catherine. Looks at Mara. Looks at the child. 3 lives. 1 truth. And a decision that cannot be delayed any longer. The child takes 1 small step toward him, then stops, uncertain. Catherine inhales sharply. Mara doesn't move. Alexander opens his mouth. And the cathedral doors slam shut again. Harder than before. The doors echo as they seal. Security turns, confused, scanning the entrance for late arrivals. Alexander doesn't turn. He's still on his knees, staring at a child who has his eyes. The child, Eli, stands a few steps away, uncertain now, sensing the shift in energy. Small fingers grip Mara's coat tighter. Mara watches Alexander closely, ready to pull Eli back if needed. Her jaw is set, but her free hand trembles slightly. 7 years of carrying this alone, and now it's here. Real. Witnessed. Catherine exhales slowly. Not a sob. Control. She's performed surgery on trauma victims. She's fired incompetent executives. This is just another crisis requiring precision. She steps closer to Alexander. Stand up, she says. He does, unsteady. Father Dominic clears his throat again, hands shaking. He's never seen Alexander like this, not in 20 years of knowing him. Perhaps we should. This ceremony is suspended, Catherine says sharply, turning to address the crowd. Her voice carries the authority of a woman used to command. Until I understand exactly who I was about to marry. Mara says nothing. She expected rage. This cold clarity is somehow worse. Alexander opens his mouth. Stops. Catherine notices. That silence, she says, is louder than anything you could say. She turns to Mara. Studies her. Worn jeans. A borrowed coat. Hands that show years of work. You said you didn't come for revenge. I didn't, Mara replies. Then start from the beginning, Catherine says. No speeches. No mercy. Just facts. Mara nods once. She looks at Alexander first. Then away, because looking at him still hurts. We met 8 years ago, she says. At a community center in South Brooklyn. He was volunteering, court-ordered community service for a drunk driving charge his family buried. A guest gasps. Alexander closes his eyes. I was teaching ESL classes at night, Mara continues. Working at Presbyterian Hospital during the day. He'd show up tired, like the volunteering was punishment. Then one day he stayed after. Asked questions. Real ones. Catherine's grip tightens on the back of the chair. He talked about building something, Mara says. Not an empire. A life. Something that mattered. He hated his family's money. Said it made people hollow. Alexander swallows hard. Then the opportunities came, Mara continues, voice steady but strained. A venture capitalist noticed his pitch. Investors. Mentors. Suddenly he had meetings in Manhattan. The volunteering stopped. Alexander whispers, I was drowning. Mara doesn't turn. So you let go of the only thing keeping you grounded. The words hang. Catherine looks at Alexander. Did you leave her? He nods. Without explanation? Yes. With no plan to return? Yes. With a promise you'd come back? His silence answers, Eli shifts uncomfortably, not understanding all the words but feeling the weight. Mara places a hand on Eli's shoulder, steadying herself as much as the child. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after he disappeared, Mara says. Her voice cracks for the first time. I tried to reach him. His number went straight to disconnected. His apartment was empty. The landlord said someone paid 6 months' rent to break the lease early. Catherine's medical mind processes. You were alone. I adjusted, Mara replies, but the word tastes bitter. I worked. I waited. Then I had Eli, and I stopped waiting. Because my child needed a mother who was present, not one chasing ghosts. Alexander's chest tightens. Catherine looks at Eli again, seeing past the interruption to the human cost. Then at Alexander. You built all of this, she says, gesturing to the cathedral, the guests, the empire everyone knows. On disappearance. Alexander shakes his head. I built it on survival. Mara finally looks at him. You survived. I carried the cost. Eli carried the cost. A murmur spreads through the guests. Catherine's colleague, Dr. Helen Chen, whispers loud enough to be heard, there's no coming back from this. Catherine turns sharply. Everyone will remain seated. If anyone leaves, security will note it. I want witnesses to what truth looks like. The command cuts clean. Alexander stares at her. She's not the woman he proposed to. Or maybe she is, and he never truly saw her. She looks composed now. Dangerously so. I need to know, she says, turning to Mara, whether this child is his. Mara reaches into her coat again. This time, she pulls out her phone. She taps the screen, hands shaking despite her steady voice. Hands it to Catherine. A video begins to play. A small living room. Second-hand furniture. A child, younger, maybe 4, blowing out birthday candles on a lopsided cake. Mara's voice off camera, tired but warm, make a wish, baby. The child grins. I wish I knew my dad. Mara's voice cracks, maybe someday. The child looks directly at the camera. Does he know about me? Silence. Then, I don't think so, sweetheart. The video ends. Catherine's hand trembles. She hands the phone back slowly, carefully, like it might shatter. The cathedral feels heavier. Alexander closes his eyes. When he opens them, his gaze fixes on Eli. What's your name? He asks, voice hoarse. Eli hesitates. Mara nods permission. Eli, the child says quietly. Eli Reyes. Alexander repeats it. Eli. He looks at Mara. You gave them your name. They didn't have a father, Mara says. They had me. Catherine steps back again, her carefully constructed worldview reorganizing in real time. Her voice drops to a whisper. You named a child with him. Mara shakes her head. I named a child without him. Alone. In a hospital room where I couldn't afford the private option, so I heard 3 other women deliver their babies while I delivered mine. That lands harder. Catherine presses her lips together, fighting tears. Not for herself. For the woman in front of her. She turns to Alexander. You were going to vow honesty, she says, while hiding a living, breathing truth. Alexander's shoulders sag. Yes. Catherine nods slowly. Then she does something no one expects. She steps toward Eli. She kneels. Her dress, custom, $40,000, imported silk, pulls around her. Eli stiffens. Mara tenses, protective instinct flaring. Catherine keeps her distance, voice softening in a way Alexander's never heard. I'm not angry at you, she says to Eli. Eli blinks. I didn't do anything. I know, Catherine says. She looks at Mara. And neither did you. You survived something that would have broken most people. Mara's eyes glisten but no tears fall. Catherine stands. Looks at Alexander. You did this. Alexander doesn't defend himself. Father Dominic whispers urgently, Catherine, we should escort. Catherine raises a hand. No one moves. She faces the crowd. Her voice carries to every corner. I built hospitals because I believe in healing, she says. I don't believe in building a life on lies. She turns back to Alexander. If I cancel this wedding, the world will blame her, she says, nodding toward Mara. They'll call her bitter. A homewrecker. Desperate. Mara meets her gaze. I know. And if I continue it, Catherine says, her voice dropping, I will be marrying a man who abandoned his own child. A man who looked me in the eye for 18 months and performed integrity while hiding this. Silence stretches. Alexander finally speaks. I will accept whatever you decide. Catherine laughs bitterly. You already decided. 7 years ago. Then again every day you didn't look for them. She turns to the guests. This wedding will not continue today. Gasps erupt. Dr. Chen reaches toward her. Catherine shakes her head. She raises her voice, steady and clear. Because a vow made on lies is not a vow. It's a performance. And I've spent my life saving lives, not performing them. She looks at Alexander one last time. Do not follow me, she says. Do not explain. Do not apologize. You don't get to make yourself feel better. She removes the ring from her finger. Places it gently on the altar. Not thrown. Not dramatic. Finished. She walks down the aisle alone, head high, shoulders back. Guests part instinctively. Some look away, embarrassed. Some stare, witnessing. Dr. Chen follows, whispering support. The doors open. Catherine disappears into daylight. The echo lingers. Alexander stands motionless, a monument to consequence. The priest lowers his head, decades of weddings behind him, but nothing like this. Mara exhales, the breath she's been holding for 7 years. Eli tugs her sleeve. Can we go now? Mara nods, suddenly exhausted. She turns to Alexander. This was never about punishment, she says. It was about truth. That's all. Alexander steps forward. His voice breaks. I want to be part of Eli's life. Mara's expression doesn't soften. Wanting doesn't mean ready. He nods. Tell me what to do. She shakes her head. Figure out who you are without hiding first. Then we'll talk. She takes Eli's hand. They walk toward the exit. Alexander watches. He doesn't follow. The doors close behind them. Again. This time, no echo. Just absence. The guests begin to leave, phones already out, narratives forming. Did you see? I can't believe. This will destroy him. Alexander remains. Alone at the altar. Father Dominic approaches cautiously. Alexander. Don't, Alexander says quietly. The priest nods. Leaves. The cathedral empties. One by one. Until it's just Alexander and the ghost of who he thought he was. The penthouse is silent. Alexander stands by the window, jacket discarded, tie undone, 3 days of stubble darkening his jaw. His phone has buzzed 847 times. He knows because he counted. Board members. Investors. PR teams. Lawyers. His mother, who left 12 voicemails he hasn't listened to. Catherine's statement went viral within an hour. I chose not to marry a lie. I encourage everyone to choose truth, even when it costs everything. The public applauded her strength. Called her a hero. Called him a monster. Both, he thinks, are true. The business news is worse. Vale Tech shares drop 34% amid wedding scandal. Investors flee Vale Industries after secret child revealed. The Fall of Alexander Vale, When Ambition Destroys Integrity. His CFO, Marcus Rivera, has called 16 times. Alexander finally answers. "Where are you?" Marcus demands. "Home. The board convenes in 2 hours. You need to be there." Alexander watches the city below. "I'm not coming." "Alexander, we're hemorrhaging. We need damage control. We need." "I'm stepping back," Alexander says. Silence on the other end. "What?" Temporarily, Alexander continues, voice flat. "Until my personal life stops bleeding into this company." Marcus's voice rises. "You are the company. Your name is on the building. Your vision." "My vision was built on running away," Alexander interrupts. "That ends now. You're letting them win?" "There is no them, Marcus. There's just a woman I abandoned and a child I didn't know existed because I didn't want to know." He hangs up. Later that afternoon, Alexander walks. Not in his usual neighborhoods, Soho, Tribeca, places where he's recognized. He walks to South Brooklyn. To the community center where he met Mara. It looks smaller than he remembers. The paint is peeling. The sign is crooked. He stands outside for 20 minutes. Then goes inside. The director, Mrs. Paula Santos, looks up from paperwork. Her eyes widen. "Alexander Vale," she says slowly. "I haven't seen you in 8 years." "I know." She steadies him. "You look terrible." "I know." She gestures to a chair. "Sit." He does. She pours coffee from an ancient pot. Hands him a chipped mug. "Mara worked here for years," Mrs. Santos says. "Even after you left. Even pregnant. Even with a newborn. She'd bring Eli in a carrier and teach English to new immigrants while that baby slept in the corner." Alexander's throat tightens. "She never spoke badly of you," Mrs. Santos continues. "I asked once. She said, people do what they can with what they have. I thought she was being too kind." "She was," Alexander says. Mrs. Santos sips her coffee. "Why are you here?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do." He looks up. Her expression is stern but not unkind. "You want permission," she says. "You want someone to tell you it's not too late." Alexander says nothing. "I can't give you that," Mrs. Santos says. "Only Mara and that child can. And they don't owe you anything." "I know." "Good." She stands. "Then stop sitting in my office and go find out if you're brave enough to face what you ran from." He leaves. The sun is setting. He pulls out his phone. No contact for Mara. He searches public records. Employment databases. Nothing. He tries the hospital where she worked. "I'm looking for Mara Reyes," he says to the operator. "One moment." A pause. "I'm sorry, we don't have anyone by that name currently employed." His stomach drops. "Did she leave recently?" "I can't disclose employment history, sir." He hangs up. Walks until his feet ache. Then his phone buzzes. Unknown number. An address in Queens. No words. He stares at it. His hands shake. He gets in his car. 40 minutes later. Rain begins to fall as he arrives. The building is modest. 6 floors. Brick. A small playground to the side where a broken swing sways in the wind. He hesitates. Checks the address 3 times. Climbs the stairs to the 3rd floor. Unit 3C. He stands there for a full minute. Then knocks. Mara opens the door. She doesn't look surprised. 10 minutes, she says. Inside, Eli sits at a small table, drawing. They look up. "Oh," Eli says. "You came." Alexander nods, unable to speak. Mara closes the door behind him. The apartment is small but clean. Worn furniture. Books stacked everywhere. A child's drawings taped to the walls. One drawing shows 3 stick figures. 2 are labeled. One isn't. Alexander notices. Mara sees him notice. "Sit," she says. He does. Eli doesn't look up from the current drawing. Mara crosses her arms, standing. "Say what you came to say." Alexander opens his mouth. Stops. Because he realizes something terrifying. He has no script. No strategy. No prepared defense. Only the truth. And he doesn't know if it will be enough. "I didn't know about Eli," he starts. Mara's expression hardens. "Start before that." He swallows. "I was 24, he says. Drowning in my family's expectations. My father wanted me in finance. My mother wanted me married to the right family. I wanted," he pauses. "I didn't know what I wanted. So I ran. To volunteering. To Brooklyn. To anything that wasn't them." Mara listens, arms still crossed. "Then I met you," Alexander continues. "And for the first time, I felt like I could breathe. Like I could build something real." "But you didn't," Mara says. "No." He looks down. "Because the opportunity came. The startup. The funding. And suddenly my father was proud. My mother was impressed. I was becoming the son they always wanted. And I was in the way," Mara says quietly. Alexander flinches. "I told myself I'd come back when I was worthy. When I'd built enough to prove I could do both, be successful and be with you. Then months passed. Then a year. Then I convinced myself you'd moved on. That I'd ruined it too badly to fix." Eli looks up. "Did you think about us?" The question is so direct it steals Alexander's breath. "I thought about your mother every day," he says. "But I told myself it was too late." "That's stupid," Eli says, returning to the drawing. Mara almost smiles. Almost. The 10 minutes tick by in silence. Alexander stands. "I won't take more of your time." "Sit down," Mara says. He does. She finally sits across from him. "I didn't send you the address to torture you," she says. "I sent it because Eli asked where you were." Alexander looks at the child. Eli doesn't look up, but their pencil has stopped moving. "I don't have forgiveness ready," Mara says. "I don't know if I ever will. You missed 6 years. First words. First steps. First day of school. Nightmares and doctor visits and every single hard moment." Alexander's eyes burn. "But Eli deserves a chance to know you," Mara continues. "Not the billionaire. Not the man on the news. The real person. If that person exists." "I don't know if he does," Alexander admits. Mara nods. "Then figure it out. You have 1 month." "1 month? To prove you're capable of showing up," she says. "Not with money. Not with grand gestures. Just presence. Then we'll talk about what comes next." Alexander nods. "What are the rules?" "You come when we agree on times," Mara says. "You don't make promises you can't keep. You don't buy Eli's affection. And if you disappear again, you don't come back. Ever. Understood?" Eli finally speaks without looking up. "Can you draw?" Alexander blinks. "What? Can you draw?" Eli repeats, holding up a pencil. Alexander moves to the table slowly. Sits. Eli pushes paper toward him. "Draw your favorite place," Eli says. Alexander stares at the blank page. He hasn't drawn since he was a child. He picks up the pencil. Draws a small community center. Crooked. Imperfect. Eli looks at it. What's that? The place I met your mom, Alexander says. Eli nods. It's ugly. Mara covers her laugh with a cough. Alexander smiles despite himself. Yeah. It is. The 10 minutes stretch to 15. Then 20. No one mentions the time. Alexander shows up on Tuesday at 4 p.m., as agreed. He brings nothing. Mara answers the door, evaluates him with a glance, and steps aside. Eli is doing homework at the kitchen table. You can help, Mara says. If Eli wants. Eli looks up. Studies Alexander. Do you know fractions? Yes. Mom says I have to show my work. That's important, Alexander agrees. They sit. Alexander helps, but doesn't do the work for Eli. When Eli gets frustrated, Alexander waits instead of fixing it. After an hour, Eli closes the workbook. That's enough. Alexander nods. Same time Thursday? Eli shrugs. If you want. He leaves. Mara watches from the doorway. Thursday arrives. Alexander shows up at 4 p.m. This time, Eli is drawing. Want to draw with me? Eli asks. They draw in silence for 30 minutes. Eli's lines are confident. Alexander's are hesitant. You're bad at this, Eli observes. I know, Alexander says. That's okay, Eli replies. Mom says everyone's bad at something. The next session, Eli talks about school. About a bully named Marcus. About a teacher who doesn't listen. Alexander listens. Doesn't offer solutions. Just listens. Alexander arrives to find Eli upset. What happened? He asks Mara quietly. Hard day, she says. You don't have to stay. Alexander looks at Eli, who's curled on the couch, face hidden. Can I sit? He asks Eli. Eli shrugs. Alexander sits on the opposite end of the couch. Says nothing. After 10 minutes, Eli speaks. I told kids at school about you. Alexander's stomach tightens. They didn't believe me, Eli continues. They said I was lying. That rich people don't have kids they don't know about. Alexander closes his eyes briefly. They're wrong, he says quietly. Eli looks at him. Why didn't you know about me? The question Alexander has been dreading. He could lie. Soften it. He doesn't. Because I was scared, he says. I ran away from your mom because I didn't know how to handle real life. I was good at business, bad at being human. Eli processes this. That's dumb. It was, Alexander agrees. Are you still scared? Alexander meets Eli's eyes. Yes. Every time I come here, I'm terrified you'll tell me to leave. Eli frowns. But you come anyway? Yes. That's less dumb, I guess. Alexander almost laughs. The final week of the trial period. Alexander arrives, and Mara sits him down before Eli emerges from the bedroom. How's the business? She asks. He's surprised by the question. Recovering, he says. Slowly. I'm not running it day-to-day anymore. Marcus is CEO now. I'm with consulting. And I miss it less than I thought I would. Mara nods. What do you miss? Control, he admits. Knowing what's expected. Having clear metrics for success. There are no metrics here, Mara says. I know. She steadies him. You've been on time. You haven't made promises. You've listened. That's more than I expected. It's less than Eli deserves, Alexander replies. Yes, Mara agrees. But it's a start. Eli comes out then, carrying a book. Will you read to me? Eli asks Alexander. It's the first time Eli has asked for something. Alexander's throat tightens. Of course. They sit together. Alexander reads about a child who builds a boat to find a lost island. Eli interrupts with questions. Alexander answers patiently. By the end, Eli has fallen asleep against his shoulder. Alexander doesn't move. Mara watches from the kitchen, arms crossed, expression unreadable. After 30 minutes, she approaches. Eli needs to go to bed, she whispers. Alexander nods. Carefully, gently, he stands and carries Eli to the bedroom. Mara follows, pulling back the covers. Alexander lays Eli down. The child stirs. Don't go yet. Alexander freezes. I'm right here. Promise? The word hangs between them. Alexander looks at Mara. She nods once. I promise, he says quietly. Eli settles back into sleep. They leave the room, door cracked open. In the kitchen, Mara pours 2 cups of tea. Hands one to Alexander. Months up, she says. I know. You passed. Alexander exhales. What happens now? Mara sits. Now we figure out what co-parenting looks like when there's no trust yet. How do we build it? Slowly, she says. You keep showing up. You keep being honest. And eventually, maybe, Eli will start to believe you won't disappear. Alexander nods. And you? I'm not looking for reconciliation, if that's what you're asking, Mara says. We're not a love story with a second act. I know. But we are parents, she continues. And Eli deserves better than our history. Agreed. Silence settles between them. Not uncomfortable. Just real. Catherine called me, Mara says suddenly. Alexander looks up, surprised. She wanted to make sure I was okay, Mara continues. She offered to help with childcare if I needed it. Said she understood what it was like to be collateral damage in someone else's narrative. Alexander's chest tightens. She's a better person than I deserve. Yes, Mara agrees. She is. 3 months later. Alexander has a routine now. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Saturday mornings. He helps with homework. Plays games. Listens to Eli talk about school, friends, fears. He's learned that Eli hates peas but loves broccoli. That nightmares about monsters are actually about the bully at school. That when Eli goes quiet, it means they need space, not questions. He's learned that being a father isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up when you said you would. One Saturday, Eli asks to see where Alexander lives. Mara hesitates. It's okay, Alexander says. We can meet somewhere else. But Eli insists. So they go to the penthouse. Eli walks through slowly, touching nothing, taking it all in. This is weird, Eli finally says. I know, Alexander replies. Do you live here alone? Yes. Eli frowns. That's sad. Alexander realizes Eli is right. The penthouse is beautiful and empty. A monument to success with no life inside it. Would you want to help me change it? Alexander asks. Eli looks suspicious. How? You could pick a room, Alexander says. Decorate it however you want. For when you visit. Eli's eyes widen. Really? Alexander nods. Mara watches, cautious but not opposed. Over the next month, Eli picks a room overlooking the park. They paint it together. Blue walls. Glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Alexander lets Eli make every decision. When it's finished, Eli stands in the middle, spinning slowly. It's mine? Eli asks. It's yours, Alexander confirms. Eli runs to hug him. Can I sit? He asks Eli. Eli shrugs. Alexander sits on the opposite end of the couch. Says nothing. After 10 minutes, Eli speaks. I told kids at school about you. Alexander's stomach tightens. They didn't believe me, Eli continues. They said I was lying. That rich people don't have kids they don't know about. Alexander closes his eyes briefly. They're wrong, he says quietly. Eli looks at him. Why didn't you know about me? The question Alexander has been dreading. He could lie. Soften it. He doesn't. Because I was scared, he says. I ran away from your mom because I didn't know how to handle real life. I was good at business, bad at being human. Eli processes this. That's dumb. It was, Alexander agrees. Are you still scared? Alexander meets Eli's eyes. Yes. Every time I come here, I'm terrified you'll tell me to leave. Eli frowns. But you come anyway? Yes. That's less dumb, I guess. Alexander almost laughs. The final week of the trial period. Alexander arrives, and Mara sits him down before Eli emerges from the bedroom. How's the business? She asks. He's surprised by the question. Recovering, he says. Slowly. I'm not running it day-to-day anymore. Marcus is CEO now. I'm with consulting. And I miss it less than I thought I would. Mara nods. What do you miss? Control, he admits. Knowing what's expected. Having clear metrics for success. There are no metrics here, Mara says. I know. She steadies him. You've been on time. You haven't made promises. You've listened. That's more than I expected. It's less than Eli deserves, Alexander replies. Yes, Mara agrees, even then. Eli nods, satisfied. They clean dishes together. Mara arrives an hour later, exhausted from her shift. She stops in the doorway, taking in the scene, Alexander and Eli playing cards at the table, laughing at something stupid. Hey, Mom. Eli calls. We saved you dinner. Mara's eyes glisten. Thank you. She joins them. They eat together. Talk about their days. Make plans for the weekend. It's ordinary. It's imperfect. It's real. Later, after Eli is asleep, Mara walks Alexander to the door. You could have been doing anything tonight, she says. Board meetings. Galas. Whatever billionaires do. I was exactly where I wanted to be, Alexander says. Mara steadies him. You mean that? I do. She nods. Then maybe we're finally past the trial period. What does that mean? It means you're not a visitor anymore, Mara says. You're Eli's father. For real. Alexander's eyes burn. Thank you, he whispers. Don't thank me, Mara says. Stay worthy. He nods. Steps into the hallway. Before the door closes, Mara adds, same time Thursday? Alexander smiles. I'll be here. The door closes softly. He walks down the stairs, out into the city night. Across the street, a photographer waits. The same one from months ago. Camera raised. Alexander sees him. Stops. Looks directly at the camera. The photographer hesitates. Then lowers the lens. Because there's no scandal here. No secret. No lie to expose. Just a man walking home from his child's apartment. Just truth, finally lived openly. The photographer turns and leaves. Alexander continues walking. The city moves around him, taxis, voices, 1,000 lives intersecting. He thinks of the cathedral. Of Catherine's grace. Of Mara's courage. Of Eli's trust, so hard-earned. He pulls out his phone. Opens his notes. Writes. Redemption isn't an ending. It's a daily choice. Show up. Tell the truth. Do better. Repeat. He pockets the phone. Keeps walking. Above him, in the apartment window 3 stories up, a light glows. Eli's room. The stars on the ceiling visible even from the street. Alexander stops. Looks up. And for the first time in 3 years, he doesn't feel the weight of what he lost. He feels the promise of what he's building. One Tuesday at a time. One Thursday at a time. One moment of presence at a time. The screen fades to black. But this time, it's not an ending. It's a beginning that finally feels real. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about love, betrayal, and redemption. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice for your own well-being? Share your story in the comments below. This is a judgment-free zone. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message about choosing courage over comfort, share this video with them. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and you are not alone.